Talk about 19.3. We have to answer our question of the week, and then we're also going to talk about Menieres disease. So our question of the week was, what is your nutrition method or your nutrition style? I got lots of great answers. Actually, a lot of people said 80-20, basically that they follow any of their plans 80-20, like 80%, and then unfollow it 20%. And that's, yeah, I think it's pretty common. I got one, or actually a couple that were vegetarian and vegan. I don't really feel like that's so much your nutrition style as more of it's your dietary requirement. And I say that because then are you eating vegan and you're eating whatever you want, or are you eating vegan and you still kind of follow like a diet sort of thing, like macros are, you know, beyond just eating vegan. There are people who follow RP strength, people who follow working against gravity, and precision nutrition. So yeah, I like the answers. I personally follow macros, and then I eat mostly paleo. It's about an 80-20 thing. I try not to eat much gluten. I try to, you know, eat decent amount of fiber, and I just kind of eat what feels good and then calculate it, and I usually know about where I'm at with that. I'm definitely not perfect with my diet. It's probably where I struggle the most, is just staying with the consistency of it. Our question of the week for this week is, where's your favorite place to grocery shop? I'm just gonna let 19.3 happen. So here you go, 19.3. Where's my announcement?
10 minutes, starting off with lunges into box step-ups, handstand push-ups, strength.
What's scaled for this? How do you even scale? Oh, they haven't announced the scaled yet. Okay, I'll be back when they're scaled. I found the scaled. They finally posted it. So let's see what it is. So 200 foot dumbbell front rack lunge, 50 dumbbell box step ups, 50 5-inch, well, crap, elevated strict handstand push-ups, 200 foot bear crawl with a 35-pound dumbbell and 20-inch box. Hey guys, we're at the gym for 19.3, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a different experience tonight. So I'm going to give you what I get to see instead of my workout. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. Okay, here we go.
Movement standards through the lunges, back knee touches the ground, stand all the way up, hips extended. For the box step-ups, both feet on top of the box, hips open, dumbbell can be held anyway, both RX and scale. Handstand push-ups, keep it strict, head touching at the bottom, full extension at the top. Bear crawl, hips stay above.
Yo te la traigo de Coupé, de Vega Baja y de Santurce, de
18.3 sucked. My legs are very unhappy today. I hate lunges. I probably sound a little bit defeated. I feel a little bit defeated. I feel a little bit sad, but like, this is what it is. And I did it. I completed it. 10 minutes are done. Never doing it again. I saw a really great quote. Do what you can with where you're at. And that's what this workout was about, was just doing what you can with where you're at and not like going beyond that. For me, what ended up causing the attack, or like in the end what caused the attack, was the lunges, because the movement. I'm excited for 19.4. I'm excited to go back to the gym. I just have to adapt. Discovered by Prosper Menieres. That's where the name comes from, in France, and I believe it was like the 1800s that it was discovered. It's an inner ear disease, and what that means is that it's basically your brain, your vestibular system connecting. Like, they just don't work the same. For me, what mine kind of looked like more was I have very, very, very small ear, like tubular connections, and my inner ear is just tiny, and I've kind of always had ear issues, and sometimes that's what it looks like for some people. So basically some of the symptoms, and it's all experienced differently between different people. Some of the symptoms are vertigo. Other things, of course, are hearing loss, and that looks a little different from everybody. Like, so Menieres has unilateral and bilateral. I personally have bilateral with severe hearing loss. And that kind of appears in different ways. A lot of us, we will test negative and positive, or passive and failing hearing tests. It just depends on the day. It depends on if you have fullness in your ear. It depends on how much ringing you have. I have a problem with when I'm like in a restaurant space. I can't really conversate that well, hear everything that everybody's saying and have like a real conversation, when honestly I'm hearing like just like murmurs like throughout the back of my head, especially in a party setting. And with that, a lot of times we all have ringing, swelling sounds, ocean noises, whatever you want to call it. It's almost 100% prevalent all the time. So fullness is another thing. I think I mentioned that with the hearing loss. Basically just meaning that like you feel like somebody has their hand inside your ears and like make it a fist in your ears. Like, if that was a thing, that's what that feels like. I get vestibular migraines. I also get migraine symptoms that don't always correspond to having the migraine pain. And with like the vertigo, I get extreme car sickness at times, and that usually is like in the back seat. I do really well in the front seat, and I do even better if I'm personally the one driving. But then again, with some of the symptoms I have a hard time driving. If I'm having a bad day, I have a hard time with my peripheral vision, even though I actually have extremely good peripheral vision, but it just becomes super foggy and I almost get like a tunnel vision. So like, this is what I see. Drop attacks. Drop attacks happen. A drop attack is where you go from being on your feet and really well, you might be having some vertigo symptoms, to not being on your feet. Just not be on your feet. Like, that's literally all it is. The thing with the drop attacks, or like the feeling of the drop attacks, is it makes you very hyper emotional, or makes me personally, but I've read other people who have said it makes them very hyper emotional, angry, agitated. It's scary. It makes me just very like in a mood. That's kind of how I'd explain it. And it's a mood that I associate with that feeling. It's very scary. Everybody has their own different triggers. For me, well, salt is a common one and it's for everybody. But for me, salt, alcohol, excessive sugar, the weather changing. So it's kind of what the symptoms are like. Treatment, they usually put you on extreme motion sickness medicine, diuretics, steroids. You can take out your inner ear. None of these things sound really great, as you can kind of see. It's like really, really harsh. So you usually go on low sodium diets. So they just put you on like a really it's not like a thing that feels good. They usually don't want you to move. They don't want you to see bright lights. Pretty much anything that I do, they don't recommend you doing. I myself take some herbal supplements that I'm not really good at taking, but I try to stay healthy. I drink lots of water. I actually do drink caffeine because it helps me. Oh, and I forgot to say, brain fog is a major symptom that isn't talked about because not everybody experiences it. But for the most part, if you have a chronic illness, brain fog kind of comes and goes as part of it. And for me, brain fog is one of the worst symptoms. I could go from having a conversation with you to completely losing every word I needed. And as a speaker, as a writer, as a historian, that's a really hard thing for me. That usually comes up when there's anxiety and stress involved with that. But sometimes it can just come up if I'm like looking for a shoe and I'm looking for something. I don't remember what it's called. For me, it shows up as like stumbling through my words, just literally forgetting people's names. And just like overall, just like struggling to kind of exist. And yeah. So brain fog. Okay. I am so grateful and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Bye.